Hey YouTube, who is the better teammate for Daniel? Is it FaZe's Firstkiller, or is it the banned player from the Middle East, Nwpo? Well, that's what we're going to see today as Daniel 50s over to Firstkiller with his first goal in ranked. These are two games that were played recently. We're going to be watching them from Daniel's perspective, but I just thought it might be interesting to see what is the playstyle between two top players from different regions. Nwpo, you could argue, is maybe not one of the best players from the Middle East region. You know what? No, you can't argue that. I've decided you can't argue that. I was going to say just because he's banned, he hasn't been in the RLCS in the last split, but then I remembered, no, he's proved it. He's proved it in the previous splits before he got banned, in which he was that region's best player, trying to carry teams up to being near the Falcons at the times before the Rule 1 squad existed and the Twins pulled up another team as well. But anyways, Daniel and Firstkiller looking insanely solid at the start of this one. So it's looking like maybe the North American might be the better teammate to Daniel. I want to go ahead and check and see real quick if these guys are teaming together. No, they are not. Easy and Eris are, but lucky for them, they queued into a Daniel Firstkiller 2's game, which has to be one of the toughest duos you can get put against. But Daniel rotating wide, leaving Firstkiller to do all the work defensively, and Firstkiller actually wasn't able to. So a minute in, it will be 3 goals for the dynamic duo, and 1 for Easy and Eris. Daniel, in pretty much every gameplay I've ever seen him play, does like to play fairly passive and likes to play defensive and loves to air dribble out of his own half. As I say that, he's going to pre-jump Firstkiller's dribble, and he might be feeling a bit okay here with a teammate like Firstkiller and already a 2-goal lead. Might be messing around a bit more than we're used to seeing. A lot of people have been talking about Daniel and Firstkiller. Daniel actually in an awkward position here as Firstkiller turns and dunks. Daniel can't make a challenge, but a lot of players and audience members, fans, I guess what I'm trying to say the word of, has been talking about, would Daniel and Firstkiller alongside Beast Mode be a good team? Now, is that something that you guys have thought about before? Because it probably is. Daniel, Firstkiller, Beast Mode is what everybody says is the number 1, 2, and 3 players in North America. And I think depending on who you ask, they might shuffle them around on which one of them is 1 and 2. Even though I'm one of the bigger Daniel fans, I would understand if Daniel gets forced into that 3rd spot there, considering that Firstkiller and FaZe have 1 regionals, as well as Version 1 and Beast Mode have 1 regionals. But we have yet to see SSG and Daniel get any wins. Now, his team has always been good, and his performance has always been one of the reasons why his team is so good, but we haven't seen him take it all. So I could see the argument for Daniel at 3. But either way, my point is, do you think a team of all of them together would work well? Because people, as it's a nasty double, he's doing a great job by himself right now, but people have said that too much star power is not necessarily the answer. That we could be moving into an era where what could be more important is how a team works together and how a team communicates and everything else that surrounds kind of the meta game of Rocket League, as opposed to just being good by yourself, maybe good mechanically, high rated at the game. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, your own physical ability at the game might not be the most important factor anymore. Before, you used to have a guy like Firstkiller and you couldn't possibly lose. That was the argument. In fact, Firstkiller could take any team to the top without even solid teammates. But the impression now is that in order to win, you're going to need a full, well-rounded team, and you might not even need a hard carry at all in your team. The argument being, a team like Gen G, which is just 3 really solid players. You could argue maybe Jack is that all-star player for them. But even then, all 3 of them are so relevant in the game, and their hard grind might be the reason why they won. So could Firstkiller, Daniel, and Beast Mode do that? Would they be dominant right away like everyone thinks they are? And I think it's a mix. I like listening to that from people in terms of their arguments for these players. But at the end of the day, I think combining these 3 would be about as good as it gets. The only thing I wouldn't know is I don't know how any of the behind-the-scenes stuff works. You know, I'd have to actually defer to players, but I think one of the players who actually argues for this as well, because I think this was a Chalked Cast conversation, is Rizzo. And Rizzo's dealt with, you know, the behind-the-scenes of being a player a lot. And I want to say he's not too worried about, you know, everything that goes on in terms of these three players who I know are all friends behind the scenes, but maybe not the hardest workers. You know, I don't know if they need their teammates to keep them honest, but either way, would Firstkiller be a better teammate for Nwpo? That's one of the things we're trying to find out today. Daniel going to win this game 7-4 alongside Firstkiller, and I think shortly after this, he played his round with Nwpo. So we'll check it out now. 2v2, Daniel and Nwpo. Daniel playing alongside Nwpo, and this must be happening on EU servers, right? No, it's not. You'd be wrong. Nwpo is just queuing 180 ping into USEs, so keep that in mind while you watch this gameplay, as Creams is going to shoot in what is definitely going to be a goal. So Nwpo is a guy, if you guys don't know who Nwpo is, maybe you clicked into the video because you saw Daniel and Firstkiller. Nwpo is a player who recently was banned from the RLCS because it was discovered that he had played in the RLCS under a different person's account when he wasn't old enough. And after playing, I think, a full split, maybe even a full split in a couple other regionals, it was outed, and he was therefore banned at that moment for a full year. Now, before he was banned, his teams were looking like the only teams that could maybe contend with the Falcons in the Middle East region, and the reason why was because of him almost purely. I mean, he was just a powerhouse himself. And look at this passing play between Nwpo and Daniel. Is Nwpo around to finish it? He is! What a beautiful setup you'd love to see between these two. Nwpo is getting Daniel comparisons, or is getting Daniel comparisons, and the thing about every new player is they're always going to get compared to maybe the most recent new player. I think when Daniel was coming up, the comparisons probably were to like Firstkiller, even though Firstkiller hadn't been new for a while. But everybody wants to know that the new Prodigy is going to be just like the previous best Prodigy. So I think Nwpo has garnered comparisons like that. You know, Zen, I know, is a guy who has gotten a ton of the same comparisons, but people say, no, you know, comparing Zen to Daniel isn't even fair. He's so much better than Daniel, which might be the case. I don't know. We'll end up seeing when Zen gets there. Nwpo, though, he is worthy of the comparisons to Daniel, and he may be worthy of the Nwpo's even better than Daniel comparisons. At least the way he played in the Middle East and the way he dominated that entire region, he certainly made it seem like he could be. You know, it's different playing in North America versus playing in the Middle East. And Nwpo, I think, a bit of a more aggressive player than Daniel is. Daniel's kind of an interesting team dynamic type player. I think you could drop him in with a lot of teams because of the way he likes to play safe, and everything will work out. Whereas Nwpo is like a maniac offensively, and he was literally taking the ball from teammates and stuff when we were watching him in his very successful, I should say, RLCS games. So that's just something that I feel like is hard to rein in and could end up being in a team environment that didn't work for him. Whereas Daniel seems pretty plug and play. I think you could drop him in almost any team and he does just fine, even if Nwpo might have a higher ceiling than him. But that being said, let's see how they play here together today. They did not queue up into these games together. As you can see, once again, Daniel not teaming with the teammate that we are highlighting him with. But both of them have had a tough time on defense. One of the times, the net sitting wide open. This time, coming to challenge these two a little bit late. I think Creams and T-Var might be a bit of a tougher opponents than we saw Daniel and Firstkiller go up against. But that's not to say that means that Daniel and Nwpo can't handle them with ease. Daniel and Nwpo trying to combine to win 50s out of this corner, and Nwpo ends up just passing this ball to T-Var. But great 50. I just want to see some more passing plays between Daniel and Nwpo, because I bet you these guys don't play a ton, and it's fun to watch, you know, the pre-jumps immediately get rewarded. Daniel's just going to boom one top right. It's just great to watch talented players immediately mesh with each other, because It's just the way it goes. I don't know if we've seen, I think we have seen Daniel and Nwpo play against each other in 1v1, right? That has gone in favor of Nwpo. Daniel has always had a tough time against really mechanical, speedy ones players that fall right around that rank that Nwpo is at. Because Nwpo is not really a top ones player. He struggles against a lot of the top 10 or the top 5. But we saw Daniel lose to guys like Drally when Drally was coming up. He's just kind of like a speedy destroyer who worked his way in. Nwpo's kind of the same way. And then I think this has been released on YouTube by now. Dark, the Middle Eastern 1v1er who's also just fast and mechanical, was able to beat Daniel as well. So Daniel's always had a bit of an issue with those kind of players, players that are near the top because of their speed and mechanics, but aren't at the top because of the rest of their mindset in ones. That doesn't seem to be as big of a problem the first time they play against Daniel. I mean, I would give Daniel still a decent chance at getting wins back on those players, but it's interesting to see that trend with him. And right now, him and Nwpo are actually losing. Daniel going to go all by himself, though. He had Nwpo camped out midfield if he was wanting to pass, but Daniel said, no, I've got it. I love to watch twos every once in a while because we do watch a ton of ones on the YouTube channel, and that's not going to change or anything just because these twos games are exciting, but you do get to see a lot more 2v1 or 1v2s because those never happen, and you just get to see like a ton more exciting shots per goal because every goal needs to be of high quality to make it past these high level defenders, whereas in ones you're going to see a lot of open nets taken. And so Daniel and Nwpo both have been forced to score so many great goals here as they get a 5-4 lead. They can't just rely on, a couple kickoff goals and a couple open nets. Nwpo going for a bump, even though it didn't connect. He set it up for free for Daniel. So Daniel and Nwpo both looking really good. It's funny, actually, Daniel and we wouldn't have thought that the two players that looked like they were playing the team game in twos a lot more would have been the 180 ping Nwpo and Daniel, the guys who probably never queue with each other like at all, whereas Daniel and Firstkiller probably get each other all the time. They looked a bit more like they were just playing, standard, we solo queued into each other, twos ranked. But either way, I think Daniel looks good alongside either one of them. He won both these games, but exciting to watch 2v2 gameplay every once in a while. Tell me guys what you guys think about getting to watch twos, and maybe if we do a few more two show matches or something, that could be fun to get these guys involved in that way. But either way, thanks for watching the YouTube today. Daniel in twos. I'll see you guys next time.